All right, so let me give you guys an overview of what's happening now to get to this final stage where we have color in our smoke. Starting on the object level in our large plume build, let's go back to where we were in the last video, up towards the top here, when we rasterized those color fields. So, what do you do after that? Well, we brought it in with everything else going into combustion, right? And on top of that, I also basically just copied and pasted this exact setup over here for when we cached out density. So again, anytime you rasterize something, that's responsible for density. That's when you need to add in the color. And again, we're using the same exact technique right here. Axiom automatically understands what CD is, so all you have to do is just be sure that you're outputting color, and in that case, that works for our source. So nothing crazy there. But inside of DOPS, if we go to our DOPNet, on the smoke object, you need to go to Properties, Fields, and then turn on the Create CD and Alpha fields right here. By default, this color is going to be white, and you do not want that. We want the default color to be black, and then when we source in color on both combustion and the ground density, we want to set the operation here to maximum. So we bring in color, we go for the maximum, or you can also add color. That's another good way of going about it if you want. But either way works. I'll go ahead and just switch this to add just to show you that it works either way. Like that. And to advect those values, to move those values according to the movement of the simulation, we go to our Pyro Solver. Under the Advection tab, we then just add in CD for color. And it's really as easy as that. The one last thing you want to do is blur that color. So here I have a gas blur. I'm saying to blur CD, the color field. It's okay if the stencil is active. That's fine. We'll just call this our color blur. And that's just a Gaussian blur which mixes those colors together as the simulation moves over time. So that all gets brought in here on the DOP import. Don't forget to enable color right there. With our activation, or with our masking right here, I did decide to not mask off color. I noticed that the density was actually chopping into the color value. So here I say, all right, we just want color being brought through here and not through this side where we're masking things off. And everything pretty much goes down as it usually does. Here I have the color being isolated, and then we bring that in with the sharpened density. And if you want to sharpen that color field, you can do so right here. It's not a big deal. We do that, and yeah, everything works as it usually does. Here we have our scatter field going on. Just be sure that when you're trying to make this work in your existing network, that you don't lose color at any point. So go through with a volume slice and just be sure that the color field exists on all steps of the way. That's my main advice whenever you're trying to add something to a really complex network like this. So that caches out. We read it right here. And the one last thing that I do with our color field before it hits the solver, or before it hits the shader, that is I bring in color like that, and I use a color correction to control the values. So if you want to add more contrast, if you want to bring those values closer to 1, I have the bias going up, which brings the colors closer towards 1, and I've brought up the gain a little bit to add some more contrast. So you can go ahead and adjust that color correct however you want, but it's a good thing to have when you're trying to work with the color field. And then here on the stage, on our shader, all you do is check on this color with CD volume, and you'll need to change the smoke color to something that is kind of tinted in the general direction you want things to go in. Right now it's kind of going in this yellow orangish direction. We'll go ahead and bring that a bit closer towards red. Nothing too crazy though. We're still pretty close to 1. And then on the smoke brightness, you need to bring that up. Because by default, if I, let's say, bring our brightness to 1 and I re-kick this render, the smoke is going to be very dark. So it'll probably look like this at first, but if we restart this and again turn up that brightness to, let's say, a value of 20, then all of our colors will show up just fine. And when it comes to color, that's about it. So in the next video, we can move on to camera shake and how to address multiple explosions, and we'll go from there.